Hello Giants fans across the world, it's British stand-up comedian and lifelong Giants fan David Whitney here. The boys from the podcast have been very good to me and let me air my view of the state of the New York football Giants from across the pond. Let's call it the Liney's view. I'm going to keep it strictly on offense today. I think we all know that the defense is dope, and yes, as an Englishman I do know that sounded ridiculous, but I've said it now. The defense is dope. Let's talk about offense. What an amount of talent we have in our wide receiver crew. It's an amazing situation that we have here. Obviously, OBJ is a superstar, and Brendan Marshall is coming in, and he knows his place. He knows he's not going to get as many targets as he was in other offenses. He knows he's there to take cover away from OBJ. They can't double cover everybody, and this is going to free up some amazing options. And behind those guys, we've got Sterling Shepard. What an incredible talent he is. And people like Lewis and King are great as well. I mean, on many offenses, they're like number 2 wide receivers, and on us, they're like down at 4th and 5th. We are an embarrassment of riches. And we've got our new number 1 pick, a sort of tight end Beckham, if you like. Can't block for shit, which is a bit of a worry, but as another receiver, looks incredible. His lack of blocking brings me on to what gives me the as equal amount of anxiety as I do excitement about this offense. If these wide receivers are going to fulfill their potential, they need to get good service from Eli Manning. We need him getting back to 2011 and 2012 form, and I believe he has it in him. I'm sure we've got that 1 or 2 phenomenal vintage Eli seasons. I believe in Eli, and I'm sure most of you guys too. But the thing is, we haven't exactly helped him, have we? We've added nothing to the running game. No disrespect to the boys from last year, but they haven't exactly set the world alight. And if a defense knows that there's no running game, they can blitz Eli all day long, and that is going to really stilt how effective the passing game can be. I'm hoping that Paul Perkins really steps up. Maybe he is exciting, and the fact that we've got Brett Ellison from the Vikings, who blocked in front of Peterson in his record-breaking year. I mean, that might be a more significant signing than if we had signed Peterson himself. That should be giving us some nice big channels on the outside of the offensive line for Paul Perkins to run through. The offensive line is a worry. We haven't made any big splashes there, and it has been our greatest weakness on defense. Don't get me wrong. I love those guys in the centre and guard that make up the heart of that offensive line, but we've got some worries on tackle. Eric Flowers has not been the man we hoped he was going to be when we took him so high in the first round of the draft, but I have hope. We've added a little bit of depth. We've also added at number 200 in the draft a man called Adam, now let me get this name right, Biswati. And that's how little there's been out there about him. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But could he be the Tom Brady of the offensive tackle? Now, I don't know if you've heard this, but Tom Brady went really far in the draft. I know you'd have thought it had got more coverage, wouldn't you? He went at 190 something. This guy went at 200. And I've had a look at some of his tape, and he looks great. He doesn't look like a 200 pick. So maybe if he can really step up. Maybe if he can put some pressure on Flowers, light a fire underneath Flowers' arse and make Flowers become that sort of number 1 pick. I have to admit, I was devastated when we didn't take Lemony Tunsil when he fell that far in the draft. No offence to Eli Apple. But maybe this Adam could be our saviour on the offensive line. If that offensive line comes together, if it becomes the sum total of its divided parts, gives Eli a little bit of defense, creates some channels for Perkins, that's going to give enough space and time for those wide receivers to get open down the field, and we could be devastating. Let's hope so, hey. Let's go and beat Brady for a 3rd time in the Super Bowl. That would be a dream, wouldn't it? Anyway, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Well, on the YouTube channel with the podcast. I have my own podcast. It's not about NFL. It's about stand-up comedy in the UK, called Live at the Backyard Comedy Club. The Backyard Comedy Club is like in London, what the Comedy Cellar or Caroline's is in New York. And I talk to other stand-up comedians on that. And say hello to me on Twitter. I'm at D Whitney. Bleedbigblue all the way. Let's go.